Welcome back to ACT Program Webinars for Healthcare Professionals. I'm Robin Geiger, SVP for Clinician Advocacy for Ingenovis Health. Today, our guest presenter will talk about how to make the right choices when it comes to eating smart during holiday events. Ms. Kayle Simpson is a health and fitness coach whose online programs focus on helping develop sustainable health habits and a balanced relationship with food. With a background in eating psychology, life coaching, and subconscious behavior, Kayle recognizes that there is so much more that goes into building healthy lifestyles than simply knowing what to do. And she takes human-centered approach and practical approach with her clients. She has recently joined the Operation Happy Nurse team as a blogger for their Nutrition Hacks blog. It's my pleasure to introduce Ms. Kayle Simpson.
Thank you
Hi,
so
Kayle.
much. Hi, I'm excited to be here. All right, let me pull up my presentation. All right, so the topic today is nutrition during the holidays, how to eat smart without missing out. So I'm originally from Canada, but I've spent some time in the US the last couple of years, so was able to officially experience American Thanksgiving. And I do have to say the food is on another level. And so we Canadians, we had our Thanksgiving, it just passed in October, in the beginning of October. But yeah, it can be a challenging time. We all want to enjoy the holidays, the delicious Thanksgiving food, and then heading into Christmas. And so it can be a challenge. So over the next 40 minutes, I'm going to be sharing my top 5 tips for improving your nutrition and prioritizing your health throughout this holiday season without feeling like you're missing out on your favorite foods and your favorite memories. I'm going to be covering some practical tips as well as some mindset shifts. As you guys heard, I am big on psychology and the human aspect of our eating habits and our health habits. So make sure to come in with an open mind and have a pen and paper handy if you can. So you can jot down the ideas that you want to take away with you. You can also have your phone handy if you'd like to take pictures of some of the slides. Sorry, one moment. And if you have any questions, make sure to write them down as they come up, because there's going to be some time for a question and answer at the end. But before we start, I just wanted to introduce myself. I guess Robin kind of explained who I am, but just so I'll quickly go through this just so you know who you're talking to. A couple other pointers. So as she mentioned, I am a volunteer blogger for Operation Happy Nurse, who support or provide support, free mental health support in the nursing profession for nurses who struggle with depression, stress, and anxiety. I am an online fitness and nutrition coach for the past 7 years, and lots of my clients work in the healthcare field. I primarily help busy individuals reach their health and fitness goals through a science-based and balanced approach. And I specialize in the psychology of eating and behavior change. I'm also a long-term traveler, so if there's any of you travel nurses out there who move around a lot, I can relate to the challenges that come with that come with a frequently challenging environment, even though Mexico is not too bad right now, can't complain. And then before I get into the tips, I just wanted to touch base with you all and ask you, so we'll pull up a poll. Robin, if you want to pull up the poll now, I just want to touch base with you guys in terms of where it is that you struggle most, so I can make sure that I comment on it and that you can see that you're not alone. So when it comes to nutrition over the holidays, what would you say is your #1 challenge? So is it A, overindulging at holiday dinners and events? B, a lack of preparation because you are too busy or stressed? C, an overall lack of motivation or discipline to eat well? D, all of the above, or E, none of the above. So you can go ahead and cast your vote.
And don't be surprised, a lot of shy attendees out there.
That's fine. I believe, yeah, the answers are anonymous, so no need to be shy. Okay, so we have overindulging and overall lack of motivation, discipline to eat well. Okay, so we will definitely be touching on those things. Okay, so going into tip number one, my number one tip for you all is to avoid the all or nothing mindset. So this is the belief that nutrition is black and white, and this can look like believing that if you fall too far off track, if you indulge at or if you feel like you've overindulged at some holiday events, that you've failed and that it's not worth continuing to try to make better choices. So this is a really common pitfall that I see people running into. And this might look like, I'll restart tomorrow or on Monday or after the holidays. And this tends to lead to us making less mindful choices and often overindulging because we've kind of given up to a certain extent. And it also creates feelings of guilt and shame because we feel like we've failed. And then this is often exacerbated by the lack of mindfulness and potentially the overindulging that comes because we feel like we failed and there's no use continuing to try. But the truth is that your nutrition is not black and white. So your health overall and your nutrition is just one part of it. Your health is a result of your cumulative choices over time, not in one meal or day. Nobody ever got healthy eating one salad, and nobody ever got unhealthy eating one cookie or one holiday meal. And as a fitness coach, I also work with people in weight loss, making changes to their body. This applies in the same way. So you're not going to gain weight from one meal. You're not going to become unhealthy or see any drastic changes in one day. So one analogy that I find can be helpful is thinking of your health like a jar of coins. So every time you make a choice that benefits your health, you add a coin to your jar. And every time you do something that is less optimal, let's say you don't sleep well one night, you have a few too many drinks, you are going through a really stressful period, you smoke a cigarette, whatever it is, you take a coin out. So when you overindulge or eat something that's less nutritious at a holiday meal, you're not emptying your jar of coins. You might take a few out, but the results are cumulative. And especially if you're taking care of yourself overall and you're applying the tips that I'm going to share with you to help add coins in preparation for, maybe taking a few out, you still have plenty of coins in this jar. So it's never a black and white pass or fail. It's always a continual, taking care of your health, adding coins to your jar so that you have some extra and you can afford to drop a few here and there, and you'll still have plenty of health. You can afford to spend a few dollars. And food itself isn't good or bad. There are so many foods out there that get a bad rap, and classifying food and seeing it in this black and white lens, I think really contributes. And just like I mentioned, it leads to people making poor choices and having this pass-fail mentality. But the reality is, it's neutral, really. So some foods have higher concentrations of health-promoting nutrients. Others have less essential vitamins and minerals, things that are healthy for our hearts. And as long as you're consuming enough of those nutrient-dense foods, it's okay to have some foods with less nutrients. If you are getting all of the nutrients that you need to survive and to thrive, then you can have some calories from other types of foods. Calories are just energy. We need energy. And if you consume some foods that are lower in nutrients, you can still use those calories for fuel. So there's really no such thing as empty calories, because your body is using those to function. It's using them to think. It's using them to have conversation over the holidays. It's using them to help people, to serve. And so they're not empty calories. And then some foods are going to be more filling than others relative to the amount of calories that they contain. But as long as you're eating enough filling foods, you aren't going to be going hungry or accidentally over consuming your total calories, because you will be satiated from eating those filling foods. And that's something I'm going to be talking about. And like I said, calories are not bad. It's only when we overconsume calories over the long term that it can kind of overstress our body systems and produce some negative health outcomes in the long term. But even if you do overindulge, again, it's doing that repeatedly over time that's going to contribute to negative health effects. So I really want you to let go of this idea of failure. Remember that your health is a result of your cumulative choices. One less healthful choice does not empty your jar, and there's always plenty of time to add coins to your jar of health. So this isn't a pass-fail type situation. And when we let go of guilt and shame, we can make those healthy choices from a place of wanting to treat our bodies well and thrive and live a long time and be physically and mentally healthy, rather than having to make up for doing something bad or feeling guilty. And we're human and we make mistakes. And so that's how we learn. And so giving yourself space to make mistakes and learn. All right, so getting into tip number 2, a bit more practical and tangible, is setting yourself up for success. So the goal surrounding these holiday meals and events is to eat filling and nutrient-dense foods, like I just touched on the days surrounding holiday events, especially on the day leading up to it, to leave room for some less filling, less nutritious, but extra delicious holiday treats. So examples of filling foods are, going to kind of categorize them. So first we have protein. So protein is the most satiating macronutrient. And macronutrient, that means protein and carbs and fats. Those are the 3 main nutrients that we get calories and energy from. And this protein is going to contribute to increased feelings and duration of fullness, as well as balancing our energy levels, because it levels out our blood sugar response. And so that's going to ensure that you feel full after a meal and that you don't feel hungry very soon afterwards. So high sources of protein include meat, fish, shellfish, eggs and egg whites, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, tofu, tempeh, seitan. Those are some vegan soy-based proteins, edamame and soybeans, and protein powder. So if you want, you can take a picture of this slide to remind yourself. You will be able to get trace amounts from other places. So you may have heard foods like quinoa, peanuts, peanut butter, beans, seeds are sources of protein. They do have protein in them, but protein isn't their main component. So it can be tough to get enough from just those sources. So if you can, try to include these very high protein sources that are primarily protein. Next, we have fruits and vegetables. So these contain high amounts of fiber. And the role of fiber is that it adds bulk to our stomach and it slows down digestion. So this is also going to lead to increased feelings and duration of fullness. Fruits and vegetables are also high in health-promoting micronutrients, so nutrients that have benefits to our health, which also contribute to our satiety and to our energy levels and to our mental and physical health. So all fruits and vegetables have at least some fiber in them, but in case you wanted a little cheat sheet to some fruits and vegetables that are notably high in fiber, so that will provide some extra benefits that fiber provides. Some of those include berries, apples, pears, bananas, oranges, green peas, artichokes, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, green beans, pumpkin, squash, and carrots. Again, you can take a picture of this slide to if you'd like to remember these. But we love all fruits and vegetables. So dark green vegetables, this is another cheat, contain the highest concentration of health-promoting nutrients. So that's an easy way to conceptualize it if you're looking for, and again, all fruits and vegetables contain some beneficial micronutrients, but dark green are really going to give us high concentrations of the ones that are very beneficial to us. So broccoli, green beans, spinach, kale, yada, yada. If it's dark green, if you can't see colors, take a picture of the screen. But aside from that, look for dark green. So these can be extra beneficial to include around our holiday meals when we might be eating foods that are less high in nutrients. If you eat some dark green vegetables on that day or just in the week around this time, that can give you peace of mind that you are probably meeting your nutrient needs. And then second to last, we have complex carbohydrates. So these are carbohydrates. Carbohydrates provide us with energy that have some fiber in them and digest a bit more slowly than simple carbohydrates, which would be ones that are lower in fiber. So for example, white bread, white rice. So these include brown rice, quinoa, whole wheat bread and wraps, potatoes, sweet potatoes, oats, corn, beans and legumes, and whole wheat pasta and legume pasta. So like chickpea pasta, edamame pasta, cauliflower gnocchi from Trader Joe's. Cauliflower is a vegetable, but it's great and it's very high in fiber. Highly recommend. And so I've bolded the complex carbohydrates here that are particularly high in fiber. All of these have a decent amount of fiber, but sweet potatoes are very high. Beans and legumes are very high. And legume pasta can be very high in fiber. So these are higher in carbohydrates than vegetables. And including a sufficient amount of carbohydrates is going to provide us with energy and also prevent sugar cravings, which can happen if we don't eat enough carbohydrates, especially less than we are used to. So the right amount of carbohydrates is going to depend on the individual, their size, their body composition, their activity levels, and their genetics, but most people should be consuming some. And then lastly, we have fats. So fats are broken down more slowly than carbs or protein, and therefore contribute to feeling full for longer. And certain fat sources, for example, salmon, fatty fish, nuts, seeds, nut and seed butters, egg yolks, tofu, olive oil, avocado, etc., contain health-promoting nutrients. They're healthy for our hearts. Omega-3 fatty acids, which are in salmon and walnuts, contain a plethora of health benefits. And nuts, seeds, and avocado are also sources of fiber. Fats are twice as calorie dense as carbs and protein per gram. So a little goes a long way with these, and having too much can lead to over consuming in calories, but we do still need them. They're still beneficial for our feelings of satiety and for our health. So again, some beneficial fat sources. I've already kind of listed them. So there they are. And then some other fat sources to be included in moderation. Oh, and the beneficial fat sources, those are also known as unsaturated fats, and they raise our good cholesterol, which protects us against heart disease. And then other fat sources are saturated fats, and these raise both our good and our bad cholesterol. So they kind of have a neutral effect, and they're probably only harmful if they are the only type of fats we consume and if we consume them in excess amounts. But these are still going to have beneficial impacts on our satiety. But if you can, to maximize your nutrients, try to focus on the beneficial fat sources. But other places that we find fats are coconut oil, other oils, butter, fattier meats, cheese, foods cooked with butter and oil, such as chips, desserts, and fried foods. So if you want, you can take a picture of this slide. So an example of a filling and nutrient-dense plate could look like a quarter of it being protein, a quarter complex carbohydrates. Again, this is going to vary a bit depending on the person, and about half a plate of veggies or one serving of fruit. And then an optional fat source. Sometimes the protein contains fat in it, so you might not have to add one. But a serving of fat might look like the fat that comes in your piece of salmon, 2 to 3 teaspoons of olive oil, 2 to 3 egg yolks, half an avocado, a small handful of nuts, 1 to 2 tablespoons of nut butter, a slice of cheese, a slice of sirloin steak, tofu, or 3 pieces of bacon. Again, each person is going to be different, but that's kind of an idea of what a serving of fats look like. And if you're going to have multiple, then maybe adjust the portion sizes accordingly. Some other balanced meal examples Could be an egg white or tofu and veggie scramble with toast, whole wheat sandwich or wrap with veggies, a salad with chicken and quinoa or brown rice, Greek yogurt or cottage cheese with fruit and granola or oats. So you can take a picture of this slide if you'd like. And then throughout the day, you are going to want to eat at your usual meal times and avoid going into the event or the meal too hungry, because when that happens, our blood sugars drop, we get excessively hungry, and we tend to want to overeat. That makes us too prone to overeating. So throughout the day, you want to aim to eat when you're at about a 3 to 4 on the hunger scale. So you are beginning to feel hunger, starting to think about food, or you feel pretty hungry, your stomach starts to growl, but before you get to the point where you're irritable or ravenous. And then we want to finish eating at a 5 or a 6. So we feel neutral, we don't feel hungry anymore, or we feel just satisfied. And this will ultimately help you to customize your portion sizes to your body's needs if you listen to your body and prioritize filling foods. If you need to snack between meals or before the event, try to choose snacks that are high in protein and or fiber. So here are some examples of what that could look like. And you can take a picture of this. I'm going to move on for the sake of time. And then some other ways to set yourself up for success, aside from just the food that you're eating, is to prioritize your mental health, your rest, and managing your stress. The holidays can be a stressful time, so just remembering that it's okay to set boundaries, to prioritize rest and taking care of yourself overall. And along with just being inherently beneficial for your mental and physical health, this is also going to help regulate your appetite and improve your body's ability to absorb nutrients. When we're stressed, blood goes away from our digestive tract and we don't actually absorb the nutrients as well. So just giving yourself permission to prioritize that and not stress about food either, because that's not good for you. And then we're going to want to prioritize exercise as much as we can. This is also going to help manage your stress levels and also assist you with digesting larger meals. And these are also things that, aside from just the foods that we eat, that we can add some coins to our jar of health. All right, tip number 3 is to choose filling foods first. So when you're at the meal or the event, aim to eat foods that are high in protein and fiber. Vegetables, if you can, since they tend to be the highest in fiber and nutrients, but the other high fiber options that I've mentioned are also good choices before you eat less filling foods. So this is going to help ensure that your nutrient needs are met, that you feel satiated. This is going to prevent you from overindulging on foods that are less filling, and that your blood sugars stay balanced, which is going to prevent cravings and help to stabilize your energy levels and your hunger levels. So some examples of filling foods that you could start with are ham, turkey, chicken, steak, salad, green beans, sweet potato, some raw cut up veggies like a veggie tray or something, maybe as an appetizer, or whatever other vegetable dish. And then just to elaborate a little bit on what I mean by less filling foods. So this is going to be foods that are higher in carbohydrates slash sugar. Sugar are a type of carbohydrates that are fast digesting and low in fiber. So for example, white bread, white rice, cranberry sauce, white pasta, most dessert foods, and other foods that are high in sugar, as well as very high fat foods. So like I mentioned, fats are twice as calorie dense. And so foods that contain large amounts of fats, we might not notice and they don't take up very much space. So we might not notice how much we're eating until 20 to 30 minutes later when we feel stuffed or we have a stomach ache. So this could be foods that are cooked in large amounts of butter and oil, large amounts of cheese, fattier meats like pork belly, shoulder, ribeye, bacon, ground beef, sausage, charcuterie meat. It's a tongue twister. Cream, oil, and butter-based sauces, chips, fried foods, and most desserts, unfortunately. But again, these foods are not bad. They can just be easier to overeat on if they're the only things that we consume. But when filling and nutritious foods are prioritized first, that is going to naturally fill us up and naturally regulate our appetite. And then there's room for less filling foods as well. If it's an event where there are only less filling foods that will be served, for example, if it's a party with limited snack food options, or maybe it's a barbecue you're going to that's only going to have burgers and hot dogs, you could either bring some filling and nutrient-dense options with you to contribute, or you can eat something high in protein and fiber before you go. So having a snack that is going to help serve that purpose for you. Examples of some easy high protein and fiber options that you could bring with you, so for example, to a potluck, are here. So we got the veggie tray, the fruit tray, shrimp ring, lots of protein, a salad, a vegetable dish of some kind. Rotisserie chicken is super easy to just pick up at the store if you're busy. We have deli meats, we have baked chips and pretzels, which are lower in fats. We have harvest snaps, which are dried snap peas. So those also provide some micronutrients and some fiber, as well as beet chips and other dried veggie snacks. We have Smart Sweets, which are high fiber gummies. I think there's multiple different brands and varieties out there nowadays as well. You bring some lower fat popcorn that's also high in fiber, or you could do some baking yourself with some high protein and high fiber ingredients. So for example, recipes that are made with black beans, whole wheat flour or oats, and or protein powder. Again, take a picture of this if you'd like to remember. Okay, number 3 was the longest tip, but tip number 4 is to make mindful modifications. So some of your favorite holiday foods may be best enjoyed in their original state. So for example, your aunt's incredible stuffing, your grandma's secret apple pie recipe that you look forward to every year. And in that case, you don't need to call your grandma and tell her to use no butter or oil in her apple pie or make it with protein powder or anything like that. Again, there's space to enjoy those things. We just want to prioritize the ones that we enjoy most and enjoy them in moderation. However, when you're more indifferent about something and it's a less filling, less nutritious option, or when your options in terms of things that are more satiating and nutritious are limited, you can make some subtle modifications to how you cook and serve yourself that will help to make your food choices more balanced, filling, and nutritious. So I'm going to go through some of those modifications now. So some things that you could do are choose white meats over dark meat, or just choose a bit more white and less dark, knowing that has a lower fat content. You can choose whole wheat bread and brown rice over white bread and white rice to increase the fiber content and make it more filling. You can incorporate high fiber options like beans, legumes, quinoa, veggies, sweet potato, and corn into your recipes that you cook. You could try some baking recipes containing beans, chickpeas, whole wheat or oat flour, or protein powder. You can try to use smaller amounts of butter, oil, and cheese when you are cooking. If you can use cooking spray sometimes rather than using more oil, that's something that can help. You can be mindful of your portions of cream, butter, and oil-based sauces, as well as those that are high in sugar. So for example, cranberry sauce, barbecue sauce, teriyaki sauce, mayo, tartar sauce, chimichurri, sweet chili sauce, lots of sauces. Again, it's just moderating, because if we have large amounts of those, we can unintentionally overeat because they don't take up very much space in our stomach. And so you can still enjoy them. You can still have flavor in your food, but maybe try putting them on the side and having just as much as you need to enjoy the taste. You could also opt for some lighter sauces and dressings when applicable, if you like them, like mustard, salsa, hot sauce, seafood sauce with your shrimp ring, soy sauce, balsamic vinegar, and light salad dressings. You can also try using Greek yogurt instead of sour cream, or you can use it as an ingredient in your salad dressings to add that creamy element while also increasing your protein intake. You can choose dishes that are baked, grilled, steamed, raw, boiled, or poached over deep fried or sauteed when you have the option. Or if you're eating out at a restaurant, you can ask them to cook them that way instead. If you're drinking, you can choose lower sugar drinks, for example, champagne, wine, light beer, liquor, and water, soda, or lower calorie mixer over sweeter cocktails. Or if you're making them yourself, you can add less sugar or less high sugar mix. And lastly, you can bring dessert options that are lower in fat and or sugar. So frozen yogurt, low-fat ice cream, sherbet, fruit plate, angel food cake, low-fat whipped cream. Those are some examples. Again, you don't have to do all of these things. It's just a matter of if you're more or less indifferent about that thing, these are just some mindful swaps that you can make to make things more filling. Or if you know that you're already consuming lots of fat in your grandma's favorite apple pie or in your a casserole that you love, then you can lower the fat options in your other foods, and the sugars are just things that are less filling. And then my last tip I have for you is to slow down and savor. So when you slow down and really focus on being present, savoring, and enjoying what you're eating, you can get just as much enjoyment, if not more, out of smaller amounts of less filling foods. When you take another bite before you've finished your last, it's hard to be truly present with your food, and you often miss out on the full experience and enjoyment of eating. So if you are, before you've even swallowed your bite full, you're reaching for another, you're not really paying attention to the taste, you're going to be less sensitive to it, and you're going to get less enjoyment out of it. And sometimes it can lead to it can lead to overindulging. Slowing down is also going to help you to recognize when you're full sooner and prevent overeating. It's going to improve your digestion, which is going to prevent bloating and discomfort and improve your energy and your mental health. And this can look like just chewing your food slowly and completely. Sometimes we don't chew enough before we swallow. This looks like bringing your attention to your senses. So just paying attention, bringing your focus to what the food tastes like, the smell, the appearance of your food, putting your fork down between bites. And as you're doing that, taking the time to savor your experience, connect to the people around you, being present in your experience, taking in your environment, remembering that, the food is part of it, and it's often delicious and amazing, but there's also so much more that goes into the holidays. So making sure that you're focusing on those things as well. And bringing a sense of gratitude and appreciation to your food and your experience is really going to really helps us to maximize our enjoyment and makes things taste better. This also looks like pausing to check in with our bodies. So checking in on your feelings of fullness. You can take a picture of this hunger scale if you find it helpful. So asking yourself throughout the night or throughout the meal, where are my feelings of fullness sitting? And remembering that we want to stop eating around a 5 or a 6. And also that it can take up to 20 minutes for those feelings of fullness to set in. So try to give yourself time before going for seconds to see if you need time for those feelings of fullness to register. And then reminding yourself that you don't need to finish what's on your plate if you're no longer hungry. Many of us grew up being told that we need to finish what's on our plate, so it can be a reflex. So it's something that we need to remind ourselves of and detrain. But if you're not hungry, you can always take it with you to go. If you're at a restaurant and the portion is larger than you think that you'll need, you can also ask for a to-go box right away to pack some of it up to prevent that temptation, it being in front of you. Also checking in with yourself before you reach for a treat or a drink and just asking yourself, is this going to contribute to my enjoyment of this moment? Again, there is nothing wrong with it. We just want to be mindful about why we're doing something and, just being mindful and intentional about our choices. And if the answer is yes, then go for it. But also remembering that you can always take things to go to enjoy later, or plan to have them another time if you want. So this isn't your only opportunity to eat these things. There will be more holiday dinners. There will be leftovers if you're allowed to take them. You can always stash them in your purse if you need to. Bring some Tupperwares with you, just kidding. But there will be more opportunities to enjoy these things. And so just remembering that and checking in with your body, with your hunger signals, with what you need in this moment before you make those choices. Okay, so to recap, tip number 1 was to avoid the all or nothing mindset, remembering that there is no such thing as failure. Your health is the result of your cumulative choices, and there's always time to add coins to your jar of health. Tip number 2 is to set yourself up for success by prioritizing filling and nutritious meals and snacks, as well as exercise, rest, and self-care. Tip number 3 is to choose filling foods first. So aiming to eat foods that are higher in protein and fiber at the beginning of your meal/event to help you feel satisfied and avoid overindulging on less filling foods. Tip number 4 was to make mindful modifications, to enjoy your favorite foods in moderation and make balanced modifications where you can and where you're more indifferent. And then tip number 5 is to slow down and savor. So taking the time to savor your food and check in with your body to help you make conscious choices and get the most enjoyment out of your experience. And then one last reminder is to just remember to give yourself grace. If you overindulge, if you forget to plan ahead or forget to be mindful, it's okay. You're human. We're not perfect. We make mistakes. Slip-ups are a part of life. And sometimes there are learning lessons in them. Sometimes they can teach you something, but we can't learn from them if we're beating ourselves up from them, and we can't expect ourselves to never make mistakes. One of the best things that we can do for our health and for our relationship with food is to be kind to ourselves and practice forgiveness. Let go of guilt, let go of shame, allow ourselves to be human. Is going to eliminate that guilt and shame, which can often lead to negative food choices, and just improve our mental health overall. And so do your best. Don't stress about being perfect, and remember to enjoy yourself because the holidays only come once a year. So thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to keep in touch, I am most active on Instagram, so that's my QR code that you can scan there if you'd like to give me a follow. If you have any questions that don't get answered in the upcoming Q&A session, feel free to, you can always email them to me. I'm happy to answer them. And if you are interested, if you're looking for personalized support with your nutrition or with reaching your health and fitness goals in a balanced way, you can email me, reach out to me, or head to my website, kaylesimpsonfitness.com. It's currently under maintenance. So if you're watching this live, go to the link in my Instagram bio if you're interested in that. And then by the time the recording is up, I should have my website fixed. And then any questions? Pass it over to you, Robin.
That was awesome. Thank you so much. There are some questions. I actually have people sending me questions right now. So I'm going to go ahead and start those if that's okay with you. And thank you for sharing how they can get in touch with you. Also, if there's questions and you can't quite recall how to get in touch with Kayle Simpson, you can email us at ingenovishealth.com, and we'd be more than happy to get those questions over to you. But let's get started with the first couple questions that we have. One was about weight loss medication. Like they're on weight loss medication, doesn't allow them to eat quite a lot. They have a small appetite. What should I focus on primarily during the holidays when I'm eating?
Okay, so having a small appetite. So I'm wondering what their challenges are. I guess they can't eat
all that I have.
I mean, I think a lot of the tips will apply. You will maybe know your body and know when it comes to choosing filling foods first, know like how much food you start to and how that affects your hunger levels so that you do have some room for the things that you want to enjoy. Maybe if you get full very quickly, then you prioritize the more filling and nutritious foods earlier in the day, and at the actual event you eat the foods that you really want to eat, so maybe you don't have to prioritize eating as much protein and fiber at the actual event so that you can still enjoy the foods that you like. But aside from that, I would say that all of the tips still apply.
Okay, no, I'm pretty sure I'm getting yes that was the question, or that was the answer that she was looking for. And I had another question which kind of rolls into that. I'm two different people, so I'm surprised about this, but it says desserts bring guilt. Thanksgiving brings more than one opportunity for dessert. I prefer desserts to meals. I like this one. This is someone after my own heart.
My kind of girl. Yeah.
I love desserts.
Sweet over savory.
Right. I'm like, I like
Well,
it. Very honest, bring it right to the front here. And how bad is it to skip meals and eat dessert only on certain days? And I'm sure this is just framing around the holidays, or this is what this question is about.
yeah. I mean, I would
These
say
are good. These are tricky questions.
yeah. Also, I just thought of one for the last question. Smoothies are another option if you want to get like some dark green, like the dark green leafy vegetables. Those can be quite filling. So you could blend them, like add them into smoothies. They're less filling because they're already, liquefied and partially digested. So that's another way that she can get some additional nutrients. But the skipping dessert, I mean, everything in moderation. Like ideally, if you're eating dessert for every single meal, you're going to be taking some jars out of your coin of health again, but it's about getting enough nutrients. So if you focus on eating nutrients at most of your meals, then the only thing that could happen is it can affect your blood sugar. So when you eat protein and fiber before dessert, even just a little bit, that will prevent the blood sugar spike and then drop, which can lead to, it can make you tired after you eat dessert or sugar, and it can cause more sugar cravings. So if you eat even a little bit of protein and fiber before dessert, that will help to prevent that. So I'll say that. And then another thing, because I also really like sweet food, something that I experiment with is making higher protein foods sweet. So I have chocolate protein powder. I'll put that in oatmeal. So one of my meals will be chocolate oatmeal, but it is high in protein. That's why I like cooking with protein, or I'll make egg whites with cinnamon and peanut butter, maybe a bit of sugar-free syrup. Are artificial sweeteners the best thing for your health? No, but again, it's everything in moderation. They're having a little bit is fine. So maybe experimenting with also having some sweeter meals, maybe having some bowls of yogurt with berries. And if you can have a bit of protein and fiber before dessert, but if you don't, again, it's not the end of the world.
Okay. And then next question. Does water play an important role in overeating?
That's actually something I meant to add in as I was getting ready before this webinar. I was like, I didn't mention water at all, and I usually do. So yes, it affects our energy levels a lot. So when we're dehydrated, we can feel tired, and sometimes we can mistake that. Our body can have cravings for more calorie dense foods as a way to compensate for that. So yes, staying hydrated is very important. Thank you for that reminder. So make sure to drink plenty of water throughout the day and at events if you can, especially if you're drinking alcohol, drink extra water.
Is snacking important, or can it be skipped?
It can be skipped. I think it really depends on the person. I would say snack if you get too hungry between meals. So again, we don't want to get past that 3 level on the hunger scale. If you're getting to that point and you're not about to eat a meal, then have a snack to tide you over so you don't go into that red zone. Yeah, so I would say it's not good or bad necessarily. That's the role that it plays, is just tiding us over when we need to. If you're not hungry between meals, then there's no need to snack.
Okay. And the last question that I have is, you mentioned slow down and savor. Is this similar to mindful eating?
Yes, exactly.
Love it.
And when we're around people, like depending on what your interpretation of mindful eating is, sometimes people define it as, you don't want any distractions. You want to sit in silence and eat your food. If we're at a holiday event, we can't always do that. So it's just about adding elements of mindfulness to when we're eating. But that's exactly what I mean.
I love it. And those are our final questions. We don't have any other questions, but I'd love to know if you had like one of your most impactful suggestions, or you definitely shared a lot of great tips of wisdom, but one of your most impactful suggestions that helps in any situation, what would that be?
Oh, I would say to just be nicer to yourself.
I love that.
Because I
Okay.
think that's where, like, a lot of when we make negative choices, it's because we have negative self-talk, because we feel guilty about something that we've done, whether it's to do with our eating habits or just things in general. I think that is like can be one way that helps us to feel better. But if we just have like nice, positive self-talk and we're just being nice to ourselves in our heads all day, then I think it's just really beneficial for our overall experience of life. And also, we don't need to overcompensate or try to use food as like a dopamine hit to make us feel better, which, then we're not really listening to our bodies and what they need.
Love it. Okay. Well, I certainly enjoyed time with you today. Thank you so much for joining us and prepping us for the holidays. This has definitely been helpful for me. And just reminding our listeners that you can join us next month as we meet again for our holiday social ugly sweater contest. And we just look forward to engaging everyone and during the holidays and spending some time with you. So, Kayle Simpson, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Robin. Likewise.
And we'll see you next time. Thanks.
See you next time. Bye.